we have incredible speakers from multiple industries, and we'll discuss industry specifics, country specifics. I really would love personally to talk about fashion and French flair of how fashion affects technology. And without further ado, bonjour, ladies. Welcome to our talk show. I would love to ask you to introduce yourself and your role, and what was the key to your success in your career. So I would love to start with Anna.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So my name is Anna Povic. I work in Societe Generale for already 23 years. I was born in Poland, first of all. I started my education in Poland and then continued in France. I did a PhD in applied mathematics in France. Then I came back to Poland to work with Societe Generale on several positions. Now I'm responsible for the IT strategy and I'm supervising payments business activities for Euro business unit. It means the international and financial services entities belonging to Societe Generale in Eastern Europe.
Wonderful. What is the key to your success, Anna?
So for me, the key success is you need to like what you are doing, first of all, because this is the first. You need to do it well, and you need to be ready to catch up the opportunities. So any opportunities in terms of mobilities, in terms of learning something or discovering something. And for me, the first opportunity I had, it was to benefit of the scholarship at the end of my studies in Poland. I was the first student from the Wrocław University traveling abroad and continuing my studies in France. I didn't speak at that time any word of French. I remember my discussion with for getting visa and the person saying, but you don't speak French. How you are going to learn something in the universities? Okay, it's mathematics. It's international. I don't need French. The English would be enough. And then, of course, I progressed. I learned French. I learned a lot of things, but that's, for me, it's just catch up the opportunity, be open for it.
That's beautiful. What I'm hearing is you really unstoppable. You know, whatever it takes, you go there and then you learn on the go. That's great. Thank you, Anna. Welcome. And Jacqueline, to you.
Yes, thank you, Liana. So my name is Jacqueline Tejeda. So I'm working for Roche. Roche is a pharmaceutical company, and then I'm currently leading the Western European teams. So I'm the IT director for Western Europe. And then basically my role consists of engaging with different affiliates across pharmaceuticals and diagnostics to understand how technology can make an impact, how we can bring technology to accelerate the business outcomes. So in terms of my background, so I'm a software engineer. So I've been in the industry for the last 15 years, but before that I was in different industries like steel industry, financial accounting, the internet industry. So I have been quite open to changes, and I think this is one of the keys to success. So how much you can learn, how much you are flexible to change into different companies or into different positions, how much you capitalize on the opportunity. So I think I relate quite a lot to what Anna said. So you need to catch the opportunity and then capitalize on that. And I know being a woman, it's not always easy, because you have a family, you have fears, you have quite a few things that you say, okay, this is probably not my comfort zone. But I think that this is something that we need to overcome as women to be able to do what we want and to be able to become the leaders that we need for tomorrow.
That's beautiful, Jacqueline. Thank you so much. Dana, to you.
Yeah, so my name is Dana Epp. I have been working in healthcare for the 6 last years, but my real know-how is really around transformation, and my career has been divided in 2 major sections. The first part was really focused on experience for the customer and how to build his journey and how to generate business. And after that, the second part of my career was really covering the whole organization and how to handle transformation projects. And in terms of transformation, it was around restructuring of companies, how to help them accelerate, how to help them acquire new companies and handle merger, and to help them also diversify their activities. And I would say that in terms of success, I think that the most important thing is to have the will, to believe that it's going to be possible, that it will happen, and to co-build with the teams and to make them be eager to reveal their talent and to be part of the way they are going to disrupt and challenge the model. This is my conviction.
Awesome, Dane. I love it. I love it. You know, I would like to have, again, personal question about fashion. You know, France is known to be a country of fashion, and you are my first French panel, so I'm really excited to ask you this question. Do you feel that women in tech in France influenced professional attire, and how do you really bring fashion to this male-dominated tech world? So who wants to go first?
I can go.
Yes, Anna, please.
Yeah, so for me, first of all, I'm a woman. So tech, it's nice, it's important, but we should never forget that we are women, and bringing a dress or a good dress to the office, it's something that I like. Red lipstick, the things that make me feeling woman. And this is something that I learned from my mother. So this is somehow also the tribute to my mother, to my grandmother, to continue this tradition to be well dressed. And when I was still in Poland during the communist time, we imagine, of course, that France, it's a very high fashion country, because I think everyone knows about Dior, Chanel, Yves Saint Laurent, etc., etc. And my first, I would say, discovery, it was in the early 90s when I came for study, and I saw completely different world. People, of course, were differently, you know, more colorful for what I was used in Poland, because it was everything was gray there at that time. But we don't see the high fashion on the street. This is for me now more for the tourists, for some very limited population. But if you will walk on the street, you see the people with the same clothes that you can see in Poland, in maybe in America, in Spain. And this is something that for me, clearly, it was something to discover.
Interesting, Anna. Ladies, do you agree? Jacqueline?
I have a different experience, actually. So I used to work in Belgium. So I was living in Belgium before coming to France. And then 4 or 5 years ago, I started to commute between France and Belgium. And then Belgium, it's a culture that is very Nordic. So somehow there is a mix between the French culture and the Nordics. And then the dress code is much more informal in the office than what I see in France. So in France and Spain, so it's a more, let's say, Latin culture where people dress a little bit more. So where women, they use lipsticks. In Belgium, this is nobody uses lipsticks. So it's almost, you don't see it. And so it's a difference, actually. So you might not see it on the street, but when you go to the office, I thought that the dress code was much more formal in France than what it was what it might be in Belgium or the Netherlands or the Nordics. So depending on the culture, the dress code changes. And of course, when you compare it to US, it's not the same dress code. But I think in general, women, they have a tendency to look nice, actually. So we want to look nice, and then somehow we take care of that when we come to the office.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I feel like for me, Parisian fashion in tech is similar to New York fashion in tech, because it's a big city and people want to dress up and actually feel good about themselves. And Dana, what about you?
I would say that there has been 2 steps, one before COVID and one after COVID. But just to share with you a little story, when I joined Siemens, the very first day, we had a very big meeting with all the managers and the top managers. And when I joined the room, I was the only one wearing a skirt, and it was pink. And I was the only one wearing high heels. and having lipstick. So this was quite funny because we were in middle of many engineers. 90% of people working for Siemens in the healthcare sector are men. So being in the top position, wearing high heels, wearing a skirt, pink, and having lipstick was quite amazing. And till now, people remind me that the very first day, this was the way I was dressed, and in the middle of all these dark suits. So they had to notice me because I was the only one this way. And during COVID, I feel that people got used to stay at home and not to make this much effort. And I think that it's important because this shows that you pay attention to yourself, to your teams, to your customers, and you represent the brand. So it's quite important to pay attention, especially in France, which is very famous worldwide in terms of fashion. So you have to represent it as well. And I like fashion and I like nice French bags.
That's beautiful. You know, what I'm hearing, you brought just feminine flair to male-dominated area, and then they noticed you and they welcomed you, embraced you, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's very nice. Beautiful.
Yeah, because I think that it's important to have a feminine touch when you are working in a male context, especially if you have to handle transformation. It makes it much easier because you bring some emotions and you have a feminine touch, which really makes the difference.
For sure, Dana. Awesome. One more personal question. You know, we in US, everybody knows that we live to work, but what we hear in France, it's common to say we work to live. I wanted to ask you a personal opinion. Do you really feel that it's true? And how does it affect your work and technology, where it's always agile, needs to change, and we need flexibility in the work schedule? Who wants to take that? Jacqueline?
Yes, I think this is, so there is a before COVID and after COVID as well. I think, and it depends on people, it is true that people enjoy life. So you work, but you enjoy life. So something that I realized when I came to France is that people were working very hard, but when they were leaving the office, they were just going to a bar, enjoying with the family, having a nice dinner. And this is not the same in every European country. So I think this is part of the French culture, and I really appreciate that. So after COVID, of course, we were in lockdown for a long period. I see a little bit of less of that, but it is coming back. However, I do see a change in the working hours. So before COVID, people had the tendency to work very long hours, and then they started to enjoy life. So now I believe that people are working the normal hours and they are still enjoying life. So they kept enjoying life and they shorten a little bit the working hours, which brings a better balance actually. So and in tech, I don't think this is a big problem because people still work quite hard. And then keeping the balance is gonna create a workforce that it is much more sustainable in the long run. So I think this is quite important, keeping this balance, and I'm really happy that we have that in France, and that this is improving over time as well.
Wonderful, Jacqueline. You know, in US, we wait until Friday, 6 p.m. to go and have our happy hour, and all bars are full, but it's really hard to find that balance. So Anna, what about you? Do you feel that there's still this culture of balance at work and life?
Clearly there is a focus on the work and life balance in France that is, I would say, different from what I learned when I was working in Poland, in Russia, or in UK. First discovery for me was the long hours for the lunch break, which is something that we are not used to have, at least in Eastern Europe, even before. Second, what we discover, it's school holidays, because you need to adapt your agenda and work on the planning of the school holidays. Because
she froze. That's what happens with technology. We'll wait for Anna to come back. Dana, what about you? Let's talk about your opinion.
I would say that it's also, I totally agree with what Jacqueline was saying, but it's also a matter of generation. For instance, when I was in Siemens, the average age was around 48 years old. And when one of us left the building around 7 p.m., everybody told him, you're taking your afternoon off. But now when I was working in CGDIM Santé, our president was very young. He was 32 years old. He was one of the people who really made a lot of efforts to be able, I would say, to make us work in home office and all the stuff. And he considered that as long as the job is done, you can do it wherever you want and whenever you want and from wherever you want as well. So it really made a very big difference before and after COVID, as Jacqueline said, but also depending on the generation and the culture of the company. And when you have a lot of development people, they are used to working this way, anywhere, anytime, with any device.
No, that's great. It sounds like it's not just the country, but it's also the leadership and management, and how do you really take that into your company. That's great. We have Anna back. Hi, Anna.
Yes, hello. Sorry, some technical issue. I was disconnected.
No worries, no worries. Anything else you want to add about the balance? And
I'm not sure if you heard about the planning of your professional meeting on the agenda of school holidays. This is something that I learned clearly when I came to work in Paris. And second is also the August, when you do not plan any meetings. So this is for me clearly something different from what I used to know from Eastern Europe.
Great. No, that's true. I feel like there is, every country has a specific, something specific that will push into in the workforce, and then you have to adapt and you have to learn how to really be flexible. And as women, I think that's our number one goal, right? To balance life, balance work, balance our families. Going to the next topic is about teams and how you manage teams, and let's talk a little bit about diversity. Jacqueline, I have a question for you. You have mentioned that there's a new way to run IT teams and blending business and IT together. I haven't heard the term fusion teams, but you mentioned that. So can you tell us more about that, and how does it impact in today's world?
Yes, so there are new tendencies, of course, and the tech world is changing. Of course, one of the areas is agile, and in agile you have the concept of a product owner, and usually this product owner comes from the business. So I think this is one first step that we have implemented a few years ago. So every time that we have an IT project, so we try to implement agile in an agile methodology, and then we try to have a business product owner that it is embedded within the team. So I think this is one first step. A second step that it is becoming a tendency nowadays is that we have more and more, especially when we go agile at scale. So we have more and more what we call fusion teams. And the fusion teams are basically multidisciplinary teams that can contain technology pieces, but also can contain marketing pieces, or can contain different functions within the business. So all of them oriented to achieving one outcome. So we do that quite a lot at Roche. So we don't always call them fusion teams. So this is a terminology that it is coming into the space, but the reality is that we have more and more cross-functional teams where we bring different capabilities from finance, from IT, from marketing, from human resources to achieve an outcome together. So, and of course, this type of fusion teams, this requires a different type of leadership as well, because you are not a leader that it is an expert in what it's going to happen. So you need to be mostly what we call a servant leader. So you basically are at the service of the team. So, and enabling the team to be able to achieve this outcome. So this is a big change in mindset and the way we exercise leadership, because you are not in a command and control. So you dictate what the team is going to do. So no, you enable the team, and then you trust the team to deliver the best outcome. And then you are not the expert of everything, because it's very cross-functional.
That's great. You know, I'm hearing also there's opportunities now for more women to jump into IT, because sometimes it's scary to be very technical. But with fusion teams, you can actually be part of IT teams and learn on the go while you are learning from the rest of the team members, and you have a technology backgrounds, marketing. And so it sounds like there is opportunity for a bigger pool for women to not to be too scared and try to enter the fusion teams for the future. Thank you, Jacqueline. Dinah, I have a question for you. You've led multiple transformation initiatives over the years. What is the secret of effective transformation in business, and how can we really amplify transformation principles to promote gender diversity and equality in the tech industry in general?
I would say that the first major thing when you want to handle the transformation is to make sure that everybody and every single person in the company has understood your vision, the reason why you're making this transformation, the fact that this transformation really meets the expectations and will really bring benefit to each one of each, I would say, stakeholder, the customers, the employees, the company, the other counterparts. It's very important to make sure that it will bring benefit to each one of them and on the real long term, and to make sure that everybody has understood what is going to be his added value within this project. And the role of the managers, as Jacqueline was saying, has really completely changed. At the very beginning, they were here to make sure that everybody executes what has been defined. Now they really have this role of servant leaders. And I would say that in France, the problem that we have is that managers are considered as being a promotion, but management is a real skill. So you need to have the skill to be able to conduct this transformation and to make sure that you're going to be useful to the company, useful to the teams, and useful to everybody. And when it's a real, I would say, success is when you don't need anymore someone who is handling this transformation, because people have been able to adopt each one of the postures, if each thing that you need to be done in terms of amelioration and continuous improvement. And when they're able to handle it by themselves, then you consider that it's a success. And it really has to be a success for everyone. These are the main things that we have to retain.
Thank you, Dana. I'm feeling that everything is changing in IT. It's changing in the way we lead. It's changing in the way we really blend the IT and business that we always strived for. And women are actually helping with empathy and with the way that we probably hear the team members, and we can understand their personal lives and how we can foster and help them grow. So Anna, question to you. You are in a banking industry, which is very conservative. I wanted to ask how is diversity and inclusion, blends into the banking industry? How is it important for you? And as a leader, do you have any ways to add more diversity into your world?
Okay, so clearly, I cannot speak, of course, for the whole banking industry. I can speak for Société Générale. So clearly, for Société Générale, diversity and inclusion, it's a strategic topic for us. We are operating in 66 countries. We have more than 140 nationalities working as collaborators, and more than 50% of our workforce is outside of France. So we are diverse by definition, and clearly we are promoting this diversity to reflect.
It has frozen again.
A strategic topic for us. For me personally, of course, diversity is an important part of my life. Especially that when you are born in Poland but not from the Polish parents, you are diverse, multicultural by definition. I grew up between 3 cultures, 3 languages, so this is something when you have it as a native, I would say, skills. And this is something that personally I want to promote, and I can promote, because almost all my professional career I do on the international perimeter. So I work with people Russia, I was in UK. And so for me, it's from one side is promoting this diversity.
We're losing Anna.
Losing me again, sorry.
That a little bit, it's freezing.
Sorry, and this is where we need also to learn the different styles of working, the different styles of management, or even communication. You don't communicate with exactly the same way with the people in Russia as with the people in France, or in North Africa. So clearly, this is something. This is where we want. If you want to have this digital transformation done for our clients, for us, we need to have this diversity as a part of it.
Yes, I hear you. And what I'm also hearing is that you actually have it in your nature when you are coming from a different country, you work with global teams. It's natural that you start understanding different countries and different countries. And I know that, Jacqueline, you also have the same in your world, right? That you have to adapt to each country. And it's natural to see the diversity and inclusion. And it's already there in the DNA of the company when it has this aspect, correct? From your side,
yes, that's right. With that said, it's not always easy actually. So so living in a multicultural environment, so you get some skills to adapt yourself, but you need to still be very conscious of the realities that you need to deal with. So I relate completely to Anna. So the conversation with the Eastern European countries, it might not be the same as the Western European countries. It might not be the same when you talk to people in Asia. So it's not the same when you talk to people in the US. So you need to be very conscious of this diversity. And but I think this diversity is basically what makes the company very rich and what makes it's a key for success actually. And then we are talking about multicultural diversity, but we have diversity as well in terms of gender diversity. You have diversity in terms of generational diversity. So you have different generations working together, and all of that, when you mix this into a project and when you mix that into things that you want to achieve for the company, I think you get a higher rate of success. Now in tech, we do have a problem of gender diversity. I think we have a smaller problem in terms of generational diversity because the new generations are very tech driven, so we don't have that many problems to have new talent into tech, but certainly gender diversity is a challenge. And there it's, so how do we cope with that? How do we bring more women into technology? This is something that we need to work all together actually. And then women have a role to play, but not only women. So I think parents in general, they have a role to play to make sure that young girls, they have all the opportunities to come into a technology world, into science, and then they can, so we can fulfill the workforce of the future actually. And I'm going to leave it there. I will leave the floor to the rest of the ladies. We can speak for hours about that.
I think you're touching on an important topic, and that's where I want to really move into is the gender diversity. And because we have Extraordinary Women in Tech platform, and our goal is really to start from the top, increase the funnel of students and engineers. And, I think that's where, Jacqueline, you mentioned there is aspiration and there is reality. It's just the funnel is very small. So first, I wanted to talk, Dana, to you about what are the benefits of having equal teams between men and women. I think you have a very specific opinion about that, if you can share.
We have made several studies and we also have made several tests, and we found out that when you have too many men or too many women managing, you don't have the same results and the same successful results as when it's really equilibrated between both genders. So it's very important to be careful about genders, to be careful also about origins, generation. And as Jacqueline was saying, I believe that it's really enhancing having people coming from different, I would say, backgrounds, because they challenge differently, they have different point of view, and they can really bring added value out of it. And all the studies showed it. And what really makes it easier in France is that in France, if ever you want to apply to Great Place to Work and all these labels that are quite important when you apply in a new company, you need to have a percentage of women at executive position, but even at middle management position as well. So it's very important to equilibrate it, because this will really enhance the company and will create a DNA that is very unique and that people won't be able to imitate. And it had the company differentiate as well.
That's great, Dinah. I agree with you. And Anna, I know that you mentioned you work with all kinds of diversity, but can you share a little bit about your opinion about adding more women into tech? And as a leader, how do you bridge that gap? Is there ways for us to increase the funnel, but also be more inclusive in our interviews? And how do we really help women to, because we're always scared, if we don't hit all the marks, we don't apply for jobs. So how do we change that mindset?
So clearly the diverse team, it's a must. It's a complementarity of the view, of the way of thinking. And this is, we should not be afraid as a manager, as the employees, as the parents. We should not be afraid of any diversity. But I think that first step is to have a look, not even for the students, but even at the early age education, because if you look to the statistics, women are more or less 50% of the generation. But then if you look to the statistics in tech, there are much less women than men. It doesn't mean that they are less skilled. No, it means that somewhere there is a gap in the education process, and at some stages the girls are deciding or not to apply for some classes, for some studies, for some exams, etc. So this is where the work should be done, not even at the university, but at the primary school. Girls should not be afraid to test the technology, to test the mathematics. Girls or boys, we should never hear that mathematics is complex. If the teacher is unable to explain in a simple way mathematics, it's a fail of the teacher. It's not a fail of the student. So this is one thing, and we really need to invest in this education and awareness for the generation to come. Secondly, in tech, we don't always need the people, when I'm saying people, because it can be men or women, with technical background. We more and more need the people with the soft skills, complementing the high-tech profile and being able to make some analysis on the raw data that we receive from the artificial intelligence, from the data lake, etc. So here, as a manager, we need to be very, I would say, open to see the people, to not to tick the box from one side, to the profile of the person, to the capacity, skills, and what would be the complementary of this person to the team I already have, because I don't need to have a team being a X clone of me. If I would, then I can do the work by myself. So this is something where we clearly need to invest. I think that in France still there is a progress to be done, because even if you will look to the European statistics, it's available on Eurostat, you will see that there are much more women in tech in Eastern Europe than in Western Europe. So there is somewhere, there are not more skills, but there is something different in the approach from the early school that is making those women working in the tech and in the science. Same experience that I have when I used to work with Africa. You see a lot of women in tech, a lot of managers, CIOs, CISOs, at least in the banking industry. I was honestly surprised when I first time visited our Morocco branch to see so many women working in the tech. Again, they are not, it doesn't mean that they are better, more skills in Africa. No, that means that there is something different, and we need to catch up these differences, maybe to transpose it on the French also market, on the French background, to be able to catch up indeed this gap that is important for sure.
Thank you, Anna. I feel that there is country specifics, but also it starts all from school. Just to summarize what you're saying is, we have to deeply look into teachers and how they're positioning tech world, not just STEM, or it's scary, or you should, I hear that a lot of engineers saying that my teacher told me you should be in marketing, you should be in sales, you shouldn't try tech, even though the people had the skills and a desire. And what you're saying about the country specifics, maybe it was brought, like, for example, India, a lot of women engineers, right? but they didn't have much choice. So what they were sharing is, I can be a doctor or I can be an engineer. So it was a different way of like, okay, I'm going to be an engineer. So there's sometimes lack of choices that bring us into tech, but sometimes there is lack of opportunities to bring everybody into tech. And in US, I feel it's the same thing as France. It starts with education, and in high schools, it's really lacking an opportunity for us to be more vocal and find more role models, and so we can follow the tech leaders and be more, outspoken. So thank you for joining, because it's important for everybody to see that things are changing. The technology is changing. It's no longer very technical. We need women. We need authenticity and great mindset. And going to my next question, I would like to ask you about your leadership style. I know everyone leads with specific flair. I can share mine. Mine is humor, and having fun is the most important for me, because I feel that the laughter and when you look at the problem with the smile, I think it helps to really change things. So I wanted to ask Dana, what about you? What is your leadership style?
To believe in the potential of people. I don't like to work with people who has already done the job. I like to work with people who will be able to have another point of view and to build it in another way. So I think that it's a matter of feeling, it's a matter of trust, it's a matter of will. And I like people who feel that there is no limit and who really dare to do it in a different way. Because in transformation, if you do it the same way, you will never be able to do something new and to bring something new. So in terms of leadership, my kind of leadership is co-building. I like to co-build with teams. I think that it's very important, because when you use, I would say, the mindset and the intelligence of each one in the team, then you're able to change things and to build something new.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Dina. What about you, Jacqueline?
First of all, it looks like a question from an interview. So I want to clarify, this is not a job interview, but my leadership style has been evolving actually in the last 5 years. And I could say that what I really strive for is to empower the teams. So I really enjoy having very diverse teams. So all types of diversity, multicultural diversity, gender diversity, so generational diversity. I think I strive to have that, so not always possible. And then I think I strive to empower the teams, because it's not myself who is going to make the difference alone. So it's basically the team, and giving people the freedom and the power to make decisions and to make the things in the best possible way for them and for the company. This is what really makes a difference. So if I have to summarize, diversity and empowerment.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. Anna, what about you?
So as for Jacqueline, my management style, for sure, it evolved. It's empowering, and also believing in people and trusting in people, because my teams are far from Paris. The people with whom I work on a day-to-day basis, I'm not even if I wanted, I will not be able to check what they are doing. So I need to trust them. It's the first thing. And then I like also sometimes to ask a question: why you are doing this? What's the reason? What is just think it a bit differently. And this is maybe not the management style, but this is the question that I ask to myself: what's the real reason to do something? And this is what I want to my people that work with me also to ask the question: what is the rationale of the action? Do I really need to do it? Do I really need to do this project? Do I really need to do this meeting? And what would be the outcome? And finally, what is the added value for the company?
That's great, Anna. Thank you. I feel like there is flair of authenticity and questioning for yourself, really digging deeper into, do we really need to do this? Do we really need to do this way? And you are double checking, making sure that you are on track. And I know that we're running closer to the end of our show, but if you have questions, please write it on the chat and I'll ask the ladies. But I want to start with one big one on the news. We're observing some big strikes all over the France, and to increase the retirement age from 62 to 64. I know it's sort of funny, and when we think about it from our side, when we watch it, I wanted to ask your opinion. One is, how is the tech industry reacting to it? And two, what is the difference between men and women about this topic for that increase for the age of retirement? Who wants to take it?
I would say that there is something that is not logical in one way, is that people in France don't like to hire senior people. So it's quite weird to say that now we will have to work maybe up to 67 years old. But on the other hand, they're not willing to hire people, especially in tech, when you are above 45, because they consider that you're a little bit has-been and that you won't be agile enough and you won't be technically minded with a mindset in this way. But I think that it's not managing or hiring senior people, it's just a matter of mix. When you have young people, you have people that have vision, that are really willing to change things. And when you have senior people, you have people that have the experience, that have failed before, so they know exactly what can be done, what cannot be done, even if they need to be challenged by younger people. But I think that what we want when we are a little bit senior, we want to transmit and we want to impact. We are not in a position where we want to have a top position because we already have it or we already had it, but we really want to impact and to transmit. So working till 67 years old, if ever we're in a good health, why not, as long as people are really willing to hire us, even if we are above 45. This is my personal opinion, I would say.
So it's changing the mindset of the workers and employers, and then we can be okay with extending that, I guess. That's great. Anna, what about you?
So first of all, I'm still Polish citizen, so I can go retired at 60 because this is the law in Poland, and this is my. I remind it to my bosses all the time. You know, I can use the Polish law. Then they say, okay, you will have also the Polish retirement, which will not be the same as in France. But clearly, well, I think that we have a gap. Indeed, it's we want the people to work longer, and I think from the economical perspective it's a must, but there is no job for them. The companies, they are not ready, not only in tech, but they are not ready to recruit those people, even if those people have very often has a lot of experience and can and should transmit this experience to the next generation, because they failed, they managed the crisis, they managed the successes. So yes, maybe we should extend this deadline for the retirement. But on the opposite side, we need to work collectively about the possibilities for those people to work, because if not, they will just be without a job, without salary, and waiting for one day of retirement. This is not right. This is not good for anyone.
No, that's such a good perspective, Anna. And same thing from Dina. It's the same, right? That when you really don't have opportunities, and that's why there's a lot of strikes. I thought the strikes more about we just want to relax sooner, but I think there is a big problem. Jacqueline, what about you? What do you think?
No, I think I agree with everything that Dina and Anna have said. So almost all European countries, they have raised the age of retirement to above 65. So yes, the question is the employability of people after 50 years old. So even after 50 years old, it can be difficult to find a job in general, and it can be very difficult to find a job in tech. Now, I think we need to, so the society needs to adapt if we want to go in this direction, and we will need to adapt as well. So potentially we need to be a little bit more flexible to take other jobs outside of the industry where we have been traditionally working on. So also when we grow old, I think we have other ambitions. So one of the questions is, what do you really want to do where do you take pleasure in your life? And then probably it's not only in tech, so you might have pleasure working in other areas, or you might have pleasure working for an association. So I think we need to reflect on that, and then the society needs to evolve as well to make sure that we have a sort of employability after 50 years old, 55, 60. And then, of course, there is a question as well, it's do we want to work that long? Because 67, if you think of us as at 67, we might be in a very good health, but still 67 years old. So, and maybe in 2 years from now, we said, okay, we're going to stand till 70. So, so yes, we have many questions actually. And I think this is why we have these strikes in France. So it's so people are asking many questions about that. And yeah, we see how it goes. So hopefully we are going to go all through that. And then, yeah, we need to adapt.
Great, Jacqueline, thank you. I have a question about your tools. And as a woman, when you balance your life, family, work, and leading the teams, is there one particular tool or something that you encountered through COVID, something that really helps you to go faster in your day, or you jot notes, or you listen to podcasts? There's something that you can give a tip to other leaders that really helps you to be a better leader. Anything comes to mind?
I can start if you want. I have a couple of tools. So one of them is that I reserve a little bit of time in the morning to catch up with what's happening. So basically it might be LinkedIn, it might be articles, it might be news. So it's not more than 1 hour, but I try to spend this time in the morning to do that. Then I have another technique that it is, for example, we know that we have emails and it's so it can explode your inbox. So I take very short amounts of time and I said I have half an hour, I need to manage 10 emails. So and these small blocks throughout the week will help me to be on track with my emails. So I have to admit I get a panic attack when I have more than 100 emails in my inbox. So I feel very guilty. So I need to get these small slots to clean up my inbox. And then something that I have learned as well is to how to balance life and work actually. And then I have made a routine that during COVID, I put a block in my calendar after 6 o'clock. So I only take meetings after 6 o'clock if it is very, very urgent. Otherwise, it can wait till tomorrow. So 6 o'clock is my limit for meetings. And I'm very strict on that. So usually I reject automatically and I don't accept that any longer.
No, that's great. I love those tips. Morning routine, and then the email cleanup, and then no meetings after 6. Anna, what about you? Any tips?
So first of all, since I remember, I was multitasking. So I was able to do a lot of things in parallel. So it's something natural for me. But what I learned during my career, it's to put some blocking places in my agenda. It's not a meeting, but it's to have 1 or 2 hours per day blocked in my agenda. So no one can use it for booking a meeting. And then for me, it's time to concentrate, to work on some topics, to review the emails if there are some emails, but it's more, if not, I will just pass from one meeting to another meeting and not have even time to think or on some topics more strategic or some topics to be done, but in a longer term period. So tips, my personal, it's not even because it's one of my colleagues that teach me that, it's to block my agenda for the people from outside.
Great. Thank you, Anna.